I will just like to welcome our august guest, Mr. Falciani, who's the CEO and the owner of ACS Dauphar. We have Dr. Bartoli, who's from ICE and has taken a very large step in going ahead and investing in India. We have Dr. Nicola from NTC, we have Angelo from Olan Sogmag, and we have Mr. Bruno, who represents Farmindustria, the pharmaceutical body from Spain, from Italy, all right? And with this, and we have Mr. Gobi, who is one of key partners with the Indian market from Italy. So these are the few of the partners which have come across. These people have played a very important role in building the trade relations between India. I would like to welcome the Commerce Secretary, Government of India, our country's ambassador to Spain, Mr. Sudhanshu Pandey, the Joint Secretary Commerce related to pharma industry from India, Mr. Kapoor, who represents the India Brand Foundation. The Make in India vision is being driven under his home domain. Okay, and we have two of the important drug regulators, and the head of the FDA of India is also present here today. Sorry, we being the first day and a manic situation, you know, we are starting late. So with this, I would like to request Mr. Bruno. As I've said that I have curtailed my presentation considering the timelines. Mr. Bruno will now give a vision of the trade relations and his vision of India and Italy together. Mr. Bruno.
Yes, the pharmaceutical industry in Italy is an asset that we cannot lose, absolutely. So you can see the upstream of the sectors. It doesn't work, okay, no problem at all. The upstream, so we have more than 300 companies, 200 producing medicine and vaccine, 100 for active ingredient. So we employ directly more than 60,000 employees, but with the upstream sector, we reach 135,000 employees. The turnover is around 29 billion, of which 72% is export. That means 21 billion euro. 2.5 billion invested every year, mainly 1.3 in R&D and 1.2 in high-tech machinery. So we are also recognized as a worldwide excellent in upstream sector, in particular in machinery and in packing. Italian pharmaceutical manufacturer top ranks in Europe. So in terms of value, we are close to 30 million. We are in the second position behind Germany, but in terms of capita, we are the first one. The growing of export is very high. As you can see, the growing from 2010 to 2014 grow until 8.1 billion euro. So, European pharmaceutical hub, in any case, is an attractive investment and opportunities for everybody. Many companies in Italy offering many opportunities for a partnership, of course. We have a trio of 304 companies. 77 is API, active ingredient. 227 are medicine and other pharmaceutical products. But it is interesting also the composition of this pie. 40% is Italian-owned company, 60% a multinational company. And this situation is a much more balanced situation compared to the other European countries. If you can see, as mentioned before, we are very proud of our export. So we can say that external sales is more than 72% compared to the other industry, total industry, that is lower than 30%. Domestic sales is only one part. Italian companies move very faster. 25% of this production and R&D investment as a percentage of turnover. More than 50 acquisitions starting since 2000, and 70% is for the share turnover for big and medium companies. Furthermore, Italian pharmaceutical industry is leading in high-tech manufacturing sector. High-tech means pharmaceutical, computer, electromedical, so this kind of industry. And 30% of our employees in the pharmaceutical, in this high-tech. 42% are the investment, 44 is the production, and 53 is the export. So export is key important for us. In this moment, more than 300 products are pharma biotech products are under development in Italy. And this is a positive signal of our activities. Which is the production, pharmaceutical production in Italy. Many actors, many options. If you look to the composition of pharma manufacturing in Italy, in total value, you can see that off-patent branded is the main part of the pie. Off-patent is a large part of the manufacturing, and market is 90% of our consumption. But in patent is also important for us, because this is attracting for us new investment. Unit price of this new patent increase of 30% in 4 years, mirroring the high technological content. We have high quality standard in each segment, granted by the industrial operation, but also from the demanding of control of our regulatory authorities. And there are many different manufacturers for big and medium, from multinational, own pharmaceutical, and contract development manufacturing organization too. Why? Pharmaceutical industry, why invest in Italy? Quality of human resources. This is the first point from our point of view. Excellent human resources and highly productivities. Excellence in upstream sectors. Quality of life, environmental. Market size and number of the company. Our market is big size. Quality of clinical structure and access to experts and skills. We can also work on another new element, the acknowledgement of the value of the pharmaceutical sectors, the stability that we reach now in the regulatory framework. Now we are in positive situation in terms of macroeconomic prospect. We are structural reform underway, so our government is working very hard in this area. And R&D incentive, a labor cost reduction, now is really effective. The new political Job Act is a very important fact that gives us more competitive advantage. Which is the market size, the market size in Italy? 26 billion euro, of which mainly is by the retail, reimbursable with prescription, not reimbursable with prescription, and OTC, over the counter. Hospital is the 34%. As we don't growing as India, for example, but also the growing in Italy is still in the top 10 markets, and sales will be increasing. So our market is still increasing. Not India, that is 9-12%, but we are 2-5%. This is how works the distribution system in Italy, the pharmaceutical distribution system. I underline also that only the left part of the slide. Pharmaceutical company sells 11% of their turnover to the hospital, 78% go to the pharmaceutical wholesalers, 10% go to the pharmacists, and 1% go to the government institution and charities organization. The trend, the pharmaceutical trend, is growing. Retail is a little bit decrease due to the average of the price, mainly due to the patent losses and control on prescription by the government. But the volume remains stable. Direct distribution is growing for the behavior to use as a leverage for the cost containment, direct distribution. Hospital increasing because the average of price, introduction of high-cost drugs, vaccine, hepatitis, and so on. We have high patient numbers, and using direct-to-patient distribution is also increasing. So the hospital sometimes may direct distribution to the patient. But as you can see, the trend in terms of growing from 2014 to 18 is around 3%. How is the relationship between Italy and India? Italy and India trade growing more than in EU, more the other country in Europe. So Italy is the average of Europe is 37%. Italy is more than 65%. Italy is increasing the export more than other European countries. Pharmaceutical, in particular, is growing more than other products from Italy. So the relation between Italy and India are strong and an upward trend. There are still room for improvement with growing, for further growing, and positive boundary conditions. For us, it's very important, for the pharmaceutical perspective, in the Italian perspective, for a very regulatory framework to improve our partnership. We have to develop a stable, a robust, stable, predictable label framework for the protection of intellectual property rights, harmonized with all the other European countries. So this is something that we have to move not country by country, but also to the European level. That is very important for us. Trade should flow freely and across the national boundaries without taxes, tariffs, and so. So we have to find other barriers to avoid the increase of this cost, because this is another point that we have to work on that. Support an open trading systems, improve the access to the market, and as for the Italian point of view, we are main competitives. Our advantage are the credibility, the affordability, the sustainability. So our operation is really excellent. So for us, quality is the key for any industrial activities and partnership. This is for us very important. But also develop this robust, stable, and predictable label framework within the boundaries of the European community will be the best option for us. And few words on our regulatory bodies, IFA, that ensuring the governance of the pharmaceutical field. IFA mission is, of course, to promote good health policy through the medicine, show independence and leadership both at the national and international level, promote pharmaceutical research and development, manage the value of the cost of the medicine. You have to pass between the agency to have the right price, and set fair pharmaceutical policy and assure the consistent application nationwide. The function, mainly, a lot. So, but for example, guarantee access to the medicine and safe and appropriate use to protect public health. Promote innovation, efficiency, and simplification of the marketing authorization procedure to grant access to the innovative medicine and therapeutic for rare disease. Promote the pharmaceutical culture and knowledge. Encourage investment in research and development in Italy. And promote relationships with the other national agency, the European agency, and all the other international bodies. Of course, we have also to interact with the patent association, the scientific community, the industry, and the distribution. So, just to back to the conclusion, we will see that quality for us is the key words for any industrial activity and partnership, and we are more than welcome to work with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruno. Really appreciate your kind words and a confirmation of commitment that yes, Italy and India would forge further stronger business association and alliances are working forward. I would like to request Dr. G.N. Singh, the drug regulator head of India, which is the equivalent body of FDA. So he can give his kind words and give his views to the Italians that yes, what the Indian industry has achieved, there is a strong commitment from the regulatory and the compliance behind them.
Thank you, Mr. Sandhu. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are here, and I'm very excited because we are having a very close working relation with European Union, particularly with Italy. We are having old days relations of strong bonding. And when the two regulators, the industry people are sitting over here, and our ministry high officials who are dealing with the trade business are showing their commitment, that clearly reflects how we are committed for seeing that the medicine sector could get proper attention. You will be pleased to know that the Government of India is giving special attention and doing good investment to see that the patient safety, the effectiveness and the quality of medicines, medical devices, or any products which deals with the health sector moving from Indian lands, they are of the assured quality. There is huge expectation, and we are having a tremendous pressure from the global market when we are supplying medicines to more than 200 countries. When we are providing the safe vaccines of high quality to the 160 countries, the expectations of the people are very high from Indian regulators, Indian government, and Indian government is committed. We are going to have regulatory system revamped. 150 million US dollars government is investing to bring out transparency, accountability through e-governance. And hopefully in 2 years, you have not to move across the seas to India. Everything would be on your keypad. We are seeing that the regulatory system, the landscape be totally changed so that the harmonized approach, the system of cooperation, coordination could be established. I am very pleased to know that Italy is providing 25% of the total the investment is put for the R&D, and there is a huge scope of India to work together. On clinical trials, which were a buzzword few years back, have totally changed in India. Now we are a destination where you can trust India by our strength of the right people, good medical practitioner, high quality institutions, the landscape of the regulatory framework which was lacking has been put in place. And with a commitment that the patient safety, the subject trials, their rights, their safety and well-being are assured. So we are looking forward to the Italian counterparts to come to India, join hands together so that we can work a module of cooperation, coordination, and bringing out harmonization for the better patient safety. Side by side, we may keep in our mind, we want to serve the humanity by providing affordable medicines of high quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, for your kind words and giving an assurance that India means business in the pharma space. I would now like to request the Honorable Commerce Secretary down here, if she could be kind enough to give her views of how the Indian government, what are the kind of positive practices and trade policies are being made to ensure that there is harmonization of the industry going forward.
A very good morning to all of you. While we are here to listen to the regulators and actually the professionals in the business, my bit perhaps is to give the Government of India's perspective on pharmaceuticals. I believe that we are really clear on the fact that the healthcare sector and the public imperative of providing comprehensive, quality, cutting-edge healthcare to populations is a core area which, global slowdown or no, will remain a bedrock and relatively insulated from the kinds of pulls and pressures which slowdown affects different industries with. In developed countries like your own, in the EU area, in the US, it's the imperative of the aging populations, the increasing complexities of the health burdens that they face. And in developing countries, it's the growing populations and the affluence that slowly is penetrating, the rising demands that entails, and the improved diagnostics which are leading to the rising trend in healthcare spends. So in both ways, I believe that on balance that there is going to be a consistent demand, a consistent requirement, as well as a requirement to focus on research in the emerging areas. So to me, this is an industry which the bedrock will remain, on which we are going to have to work. The other reality which I see happening at this point of time is going to be the evidence, the burden on the price. This is a reality. The kind of price realizations which were possible in the pharmaceutical sector in the past are no longer a reality. These are driven partly by our contracting economies, the current strength of the dollar, the pressures on the governments to rein in the healthcare costs, or at least to regulate the healthcare costs, and the need also, which we see in Europe and which Mr. Bruno referred to, is the requirement of the innovator companies to stay in the markets. They do not any longer wish to step away from their products, and so they would compete and compete aggressively to retain the market. So these are trends in the commercial piece of the pharma sector, which I think that it's good to be aware of, because these are the ones we're going to live with. So what I believe in this context is that there is a future. How do we intend to go about it? Why are we here as a team from India, and why do we want most seriously to be talking to the EU, very particularly to Italy and to Spain? We see that the European market is already the third largest regional market for APIs around the world. Your API market is about 24-25% of the world. It's going to grow. It's already a very rich and strong market. What we see also is that the other aspect is that generics is an area that is strengthening across the region. It was not always so. But increasingly, governments realize that generics is an important value add into the whole mix of the pharmaceutical products. It's increasingly something which helps the countries to balance their healthcare budgets. The top 5 countries that we see in terms of generics already is Germany, the United Kingdom, France, Italy, and Spain. But of these, Germany and UK are already fairly developed generic markets. And so the growth rates will slow, perhaps, or be incrementally much smaller because they have a larger base to start from. We see the highest growth in generics happening in Italy and in Spain, where there is a need. There is still an unmet requirement in terms of the generics market. So we expect to see that these are going to be critical. Eastern Europe certainly is going to see the fastest growing, but the base is much smaller. It's still hugely significant, but the heart of what's happening right now, the action where it is actually Italy and Spain, and that represents our area of interest. As far as India is concerned, out of our entire export basket, our industry is about 50-50. We consume about half of what we produce. Half of what we produce is exported. But out of the half that we export, 75% is generics. The bulk of the rest is APIs. So it's a natural fit for us to try and fill this gap within Europe and to be ambitious about our potential to fill that gap. Branded generics already dominates our pharma sector, and we are growing at 22% in branded generics. I think that's a growth rate that must be looked at, because it's a recognition also of our capacity to meet standards, our capacity to meet the demands of highly regulated markets. And that's the reason why we believe that we need to be having these conversations at this point of time. We already produce about 22% of the world's generic drugs, including about 60,000 generic brands in 60 key therapeutic areas. And we are third in the world on API manufacturing as well. The reason really for this delegation to be here and what it is that we want is something that I have been talking to my colleagues about. When I look at the kind of literature that has been put out for this particular event, and I see the largest suppliers into Europe, I see that India is not in the top 5. We've done a lot of work. We know we are good. We know that we have a presence in all your markets. We know that we have very robust partnerships with you, and we're not in the top 5. I think this is really what is a matter of concern. And it's a clear-cut ambition of India, of the Indian industry and the government of India, that we no longer want to be number 7 and number 8 in that long list. We certainly want to be, in the near future, in the top 5, and we want to make that place established because we believe we are capable of doing this thing. The second piece of this, and I would urge that the representatives of the regulatory bodies as well as the industry from Europe look at this, is the potential for the partnerships in India. The government looks just now, at this point of time, at making India a base for investment in some core sectors. I noted Mr. Bruno's observation that Italy is a great place to invest in. Absolutely right. And Indian companies are taking those opportunities. But India is a great place to invest too. And we welcome the companies as part of our Make in India campaign, of which one of the key pillars is the pharmaceutical sector. We see that as an important area. The reason we see that as important is A, we do have the established base of companies already. We do have a very large number of chemistry graduates emerging every year who are the potential human resources to staff new industries. And we also see that we are trying to cover domestically the gamut of industry. That means if you want to do research and development, you want to do clinical research, you want to do contract manufacturing, the entire gamut, whether it's generics or APIs, there are strong, robust companies for having partnerships with or alliances with already existing within the country. So these, I believe, are the win-wins. There are some things which will continue to be attracted to Italy. You have enormous technical strength and a deep, deep bench. But we'd like you to look at what India has to offer, at the collaborations that are possible, and making these collaborations something that are good for both Europe as well as for India. So I look forward to really strong dialogue and conversations around these issues, and thank you very much for being here this morning.
Thank you, ma'am, for assuring our potential partners that yes, the government of India and the drug regulators will ensure the positive strides which will strengthen the business bondage going forward. Considering we had a delay in starting the setup because of the traffic issues, And there are certain commitments of certain of our friends which are here. So I would like to request you, ma'am, to please come on the dais, and we would like to facilitate on behalf of Pharmaceutical and the Government of India the companies which have taken positive initiatives, which have withhold a commercial relationship with Indian companies, and so that we would like to give them a small token of respect to take this subject forward. I would first like to have Dr. Bartoli. Dr. Bartoli is the CEO of ICSRL, which has forged a partnership with a joint venture. Okay. Dr. Bartoli has forged a partnership with company Shilpa Medicare, and there is a 450-ton manufacturing facility under Make in India vision. The plant will be commenced in December of this year, and that will be a very big initiative with the transfer of technology happening from Italy down to India. Thank you very much, Dr. Bartoli. I would like to now request Mr. Marco Falciani.
This is the first forum that we have created in CPHI. The thought was that the CPHI worldwide happens only in Europe. It is rotated in one of the European cities every year. And we have very close, deep working relations with various European countries. And therefore, this is very appropriate that we create a forum where during the CPHI worldwide, 2 or 3 countries every year, they become partners for this summit. Madam has already thrown light on the priorities of Government of India to attract investment in the pharma sector. Not because we want it, but because we see that this is beneficial for companies in Europe. I give you a simple reason. We did recently an analysis, and we found that setting up a new plant in India is almost half the cost of setting the same plant in Europe, and almost 1/3 less recurring cost of running that plant in India. And therefore, the return on investment by making investment in India is much higher. And third very important factor is the market. The market that India gives, it doesn't give only access to Indian subcontinent. It gives access to the whole world, because we have over 1,400 WHO GMP plants, USA FDA approved plants, EU approved plants, Australian regulatory body approved plant, and recently you all know that the Japanese regulations and pharmacopoeia is one of the most stringent. Now India is also home to 27 PMDA approved plants which the Japanese regulator has recognized, and they are doing market supply contract manufacturing from India for the Japanese market. This is what Madam Commerce Secretary said, very clearly establishes that India today has the competence. And Dr. G.N. Singh highlighted that what kind of investment in regulatory infrastructure India is making to ensure that not only the system is very robust, it is very fair, very transparent, and very predictable. We hope that in about next 6 to 8 months' time, most of the clearances, the central clearances, would be online. And there would be no need to actually visit the FDA office, as is the case with most of the FDAs. We have also, you would visit the FDA sites in India now, it is available in multiple languages. We had problems, various regulators posing various queries, asking many questions, but now the Indian FDA website is available already in 5 languages. And we plan to add 6-7 more languages so that across the world you can access the Indian FDA website, find out most of the information in your own language online. India is also the first country which has introduced from this year the Trace and Track program for exports. No country in the world has implemented Trace and Track for export purposes. And the objective is very clear. We are confident of what we are producing and what we are sending out. And therefore, we want complete traceability of all products that go from India to anywhere in the world. The US FDA has brought in legislation, and their Trace and Track is going to start from 2017, whereas our Trace and Track program has started from October this year in India. This is what is the confidence that now Indian industry has gained. We have also started process of engagement with all regulators around the world. Every year we are inviting, for the conversation purposes, 8 to 10 regulators from different parts. And very recently we had MHRA just about a week ago. In December we are going to have PMDA in India, and Indian regulator is going to sign MOU with Japanese regulator when their Prime Minister is going to visit. I am sharing all this information just to give you an idea that the Indian regulator is trying to harmonize its regulations with various regulations around the globe. And this is what should give European industry confidence of quality and of efficacy of drugs that are going to be manufactured in India. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies because of the traffic. We started a little late and we had to reschedule some of the events, but thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pandey and the august audience. As the first track has been laid with Italy as the first partner, and this is just the beginning. This is the commitment which Pharma Industria, Italy and us, we are starting. So we will be doing a similar exercise in Milano. We are working upon, which will be happening sometime in the month of end February or early March, okay, where the local larger house will be present. And the next year we are contemplating to have a partner, either it will be Spain or it will be Germany. So this exercise and the commitment from the Pharmaceutical, I would like to assure that we stand committed to forge deeper working relationship between the European Union, the rest of the European nations and India on the pharmaceutical and healthcare sector. Thank you very much for coming.